My name's Ben Martz. I'm a professor over in business informatics. Here, a couple bookkeeping things. Phones, let's make sure they're off so that they're not ringing. If you're expecting a phone call or you need to leave or something, just up and out. There's a back door here and the front door here. So get that covered. You are here today, I'm assuming, for the presentation by Jim Fortner, Vice President over at P&G, kind of making fun of some of his title. It's Vice President of Information Technology Supply Chain and Development and Procurement Services. So, in the world of acronyms, I'm kind of surprised we haven't come up with something.
We have.
Okay, all right. Well, how do you pronounce
I
it?
won't tell you. You make fun of me even further. So,
Okay. Well, be spending the next half hour or so explaining what the title is first thing, but really more importantly how P&G sees technology, how it's changing the game in business. Okay, so without further
thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
This is my second appearance in this room. Lou had me here for his class a while ago, in the first semester I think it was, or something. And so I'm an alumni here. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. So I enjoy coming to NKU. Okay, I go to all the basketball games for men's and women's. You'll see me and my wife down there. Some of you may, if you attended a game, you probably see me. My strategy at the basketball game is to harass the referees so NKU can get a couple points here and there. You know, I just figure if I can get on that ref, and I invite a friend of mine who's our parish priest. He comes with me. So he absolves me from my sins at the end of the game. So I walk out of the game clean, and I feel good, and we do it all over the next game. I'm going to introduce some friends of mine at P&G. Dave Chalmers. Dave does all of the communications for me and my organization and other organizations. So Dave, put the slides together. If you don't like them, just go tell Dave. Give him some feedback. He appreciates that. Dave's had a lot of different roles. Dave's been in IT, been in operations, in the core of our IT operations. And like many big companies, you kind of go in and you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and all of a sudden he's changed his career to really focus on business communications, which is critical. And if we're going to be sticking around afterwards. If you want to ask Dave some questions, feel free. Leverage the fact that we're here, okay? We want to be here. Next guy's Brad Metzner. Brad, this guy's going to be on the faculty here. He's had a unique role at P&G. He is kind of one of our key analysts. He takes and analyzes the business data that we have, market share, volume, shipments, financials, puts it all together and creates insights for our presidents in the company and our functional officers. Brad's been doing that for quite a while. A real blessing to NKU to have him here. So he's over in the College of Informatics. He's going to be starting up May 15th. So he's retiring from P&G. He's had a wonderful career. Okay, this is just me a little bit. 25 years at P&G. I'm from Northern Kentucky. One of 9 children. My mom and dad are from Taylor Mill. And I came to NKU first in 1980, and I did it for about a year. And I went into the Air Force after that. Needed some time to kind of grow up, so to speak. So I spent 4 years in the military. Came out of the military, came back to NKU after I was in school during the military the whole time. And came out, finished at NKU. So if you guys complain about the number of hours that you have to graduate, who will graduate with more than 186 hours? Anybody? How many hours will you have when you graduate?
Probably around 190.
So you're in my club. I had 186 hours when I did not want to graduate. So I had a major in economics, a major in we called it information systems back then, and a minor in finance. And I left here only to go to St. Louis University to get a master's in finance. So I really enjoyed learning, and I'm passionate about this. So we are here. You got me for about an hour, and I'm going to stick around afterwards. We are here for one reason, for your development. That is it, for your personal development, okay? So this is not a slideshow about how great P&G is. I'm here to share P&G and my colleagues here. We can talk about our experience, but this is about you, okay? How do we make you better? How do we make you more competitive, okay? This is about you're a brand, and we want to improve your brand, okay? I've had different roles at P&G. I've, kind of been all throughout different business roles, mostly in IT. I had probably the most fun when I was in Belgium. We have a data center operation, ran all of our Europe, Middle East, Africa business, and I was doing that work. So enough, I don't really like talking about me, to be honest. I'll get off this slide. A little bit about P&G. We have a video. We can't do a P&G presentation without a video, okay? So.
Innovation isn't always driven by a desire to make things go faster, fly higher, or process quicker. Sometimes the motivation to innovate is something much closer to home, something more human. Because we don't live on rocket ships or inside computer chips. We live in every moment of every day. At Procter & Gamble, we believe there is extraordinary potential in every one of these moments to transform someone's life. We call this the everyday effect. And inside our walls, many of the world's most innovative minds are constantly thinking about just that, the seemingly ordinary everyday, and how to make it better for more people across the globe. This obsession is the driving force behind everything we've done for the past 175 years. There was a day when America's second largest health problem was gum disease, so we created the world's first fluoride toothpaste. Suddenly, the simple everyday act of brushing teeth could help put an end to gum disease and cavities, not to mention making a trip to the dentist less scary. That's the everyday effect, making the world healthier. When we invented Tide, we created more than the first detergent to lift stains without endless scrubbing. We saved moms 9 hours a week in laundry time, helping liberate an entire generation of women. That's the everyday effect, giving mom back to her family each day. And it can also help us enjoy every night. Science knows a baby's development happens when they're asleep, and they don't sleep well with wet nappies. So we made the first affordable, disposable, leak-free diaper. Being dry all night means sleep, and sleep means development for babies, and sanity for parents. Yes, the everyday effect knows no boundaries or borders, and we are obsessed with the belief that every single person on this planet deserves an extraordinary everyday. Right now in Africa, many teenage girls lose a week of school every month due to their period. By offering 8 hours of protection, Always gives these girls the confidence they need to attend class every day and get a complete education. That's the everyday effect today, and it continues to inspire our vision for tomorrow. Imagine the possibilities. A day when diseases that affect children could be detected through the change of a diaper. Dental visits could be unnecessary due to restorative toothpaste technology. And a good hair day could last more than just a day, thanks to a shampoo that gives you freedom from the hair you're born with by mimicking the DNA of the hair you've always wanted. Sound impossible? It's not. At Procter & Gamble, we have seen the power of the everyday effect. We've seen seemingly ordinary things transform lives every day, all over the world. And we know that the need to improve daily life will never end, so we will keep innovating. And our quest to make everyday actions have extraordinary impact will never stop. The Everyday Effect. Procter & Gamble.
In P&G, there is a real focus on the consumer. Our consumers, so here's our products. I brought some. You have to take these, okay? I'm not taking these back to the office. So come up, and I want this table empty. Just grab whatever. Every product, this stuff may seem to you like kind of boring, but everything we had and created, like these are Tide Pods, is incredible technology involved in this stuff. Technology is, and this is the gist of this talk, and I'm going to try to be done at 20 after, because I want 20 minutes or so for Q&A. So think about questions, whether it's about jobs or whatever, anything you want, we're here for you, okay? But everything we've made, a lot of this involves a tremendous amount of technology. A Tide Pod, to create and encapsulate detergent in silicone and have it dissolve, whether in a wash machine or in a dishwasher, and have the viscosity, I mean, in cleaning agent is I've been to many plants and I've seen these things produce. It's unbelievable. So it's all employees have a digital orientation. This is not, I know in college we go to the College of Informatics, the College of Business. Some of you may be accounting, some of you show up in a business environment, nobody asks you what degree you had, okay? Nobody cares what college you went to. After you show up, it is all about what? One thing. What do you think? Performance. It's about results, okay? It's about results. So they don't, and we're becoming much more technology enabled. Be very careful if you think, and I have 5 children, okay? I had one of my daughters come to dinner this about a year ago. Now she's confessed. She said, Jim, boy, or Dad, I see things a lot differently now. She's in college. She came and said, oh, I hate this technology. This stupid computer drives me crazy. And I just had a cold chill down my spine. It's like, we hire you to be digital. I don't care what your degree is. Companies bring you in because you are the digital age. If you are afraid of technology and you're pushing this stuff, like I said, Rachel, think about what you're saying. You have basically made yourself not marketable. Okay? So you must open your eyes to technology. Every one of these brands were created with incredible technology. And I still want that shampoo that can make the hair work for me, you know what I mean? Okay, one day it's going to happen. So we're extremely global. We're extremely technology enabled. And imagine, you know, in some of these you saw the diaper, the smart diaper. Okay, we're working on this stuff. I can't share everything, but I can, some of the, obviously the publicly available things I will share. Imagine making 10 diapers in a plant. Okay, we can do that manually, right? Imagine making 100 in one plant. Okay, not a big deal. Imagine making 2 billion diapers a year on high-speed lines with the fewest people possible, with the fewest air rates possible, with no quality issues when the baby's got that diaper on. We want that thing to work exactly the same way every time. And let me tell you, I've never been so excited about diapers until I started having kids. And I lived through generations of diapers, okay? My oldest is 26, my youngest is 11. Man, I've been in the diaper business for a long time. And I've had to get on my knees like every other mom and dad and stuff, change these diapers, okay? And having that performance engineered to fit the baby and to perform as expected is everything for P&G. All consumer goods companies are the same way. Our consumers, we say, are the boss, okay? It runs through the hallways of our company. The consumer's the boss, not us. We're there to try to articulate the needs that they have. And some of the needs aren't, you know, the needs that they write down. Some are needs that are deep within a consumer that we have to do research to pull out. This gives you a little bit of idea how big we are. Here's the brands. I couldn't bring them all. It would have cost me a fortune. But these, just kind of glance up there. These are the big ones. Now we're organized into 4 business units. Basically, you got beauty, you got baby family, health and grooming, and fabric care. So we sell brands, we don't sell our business units, right? The business, we're just clumped together because a lot of these business units have common technologies, common processes, common consumer. That's why we organize that way. Our group, Dave, Brad, and I, we're in the kind of the corporate functions. So when we draw charts, we're always in the middle, right? If the president of baby care was here, he would probably put himself in the middle and put us on the fringe or something, okay? But this is current structure. You can organize companies a million different ways. It's really what's the best structure to get the work done. Now, let me talk a little bit about the role of IT and what we do. But let me tell you, the business that I'm in is I'm in the supply chain IT, which supply chain, they make the product. All the stuff up here was made in our plants in North America for the most part. Okay? We do over 30 billion, 35 billion in North America alone. We're an $80 billion company. Big time in North America. I would also work with R&D. So I call it the technical community. R&D, they create the products, they give it to supply chain, they manufacture and distribute this to the retailers like Walmart's and Kroger's. Okay? I provide my team IT solutions. At the end of the day, I sit on the leadership team of our chief technical officer and our chief supply chain officer, and I'm the digital guy. That's why it's like, I'm your digital guy. Some of it is in our square, in our IT space. Some of it's on the fringe, and I'll get into some of that. The digital world is revolutionizing everything. It's disrupting every business model. There's a concept I want to bring up here, really, they call it the S-curve. So as you read about this stuff, I want you to pay attention, because our jobs, especially in the digitization space, the S-curve is what they're looking at us to create a step change improvement in everything. You could argue that going from powder detergent to a pod, that is what you call an S-curve. We created more margin and better use, especially college students love Tide Pods. They're easy, you grab it, you throw it in. They love it for dishwashers as well. This has been incredibly successful. This is what we would call an S-curve. We took a brand that was kind of at the peak, and we innovated and took it up to the next level and drove another 30, 40%. Okay? You go into a company, you need to be known as the S-curve man or the S-curve woman, okay? That's why you're there. You're there to think differently, to challenge the establishment, to look at some of these things and say, how do I take this up another level? Okay, and that's when we started, and I started in the late 80s at P&G and IT, I mean, they didn't have the internet, they didn't have mobile phones, really. We were barely deploying personal computers. We had mainframes. So it was a very different environment. We had computer systems to do accounting and financial reporting and some sales reporting, some payroll, some of your basic stuff. Then we created our own email system, believe it or not. There wasn't an email system. There wasn't a Google. We wrote our own. And then now Microsoft came out with one, okay? We created collaboration systems. And then you had these ERP systems. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that in your business school and IT. The enterprise resource planning. Core packages to run companies that do payroll, that do materials management, and where to plan your products and all this kind of stuff. Now we're into a whole different space. And it's coming at us much faster. It is disrupting companies. The IT staff at P&G, we're an $80 billion company. We're 120,000 employees. How many people do you think are IT coded? Give me a number. Out of 120,000.
200.
200 people?
Yeah.
That's wow. That's aggressive.
That's efficient.
Don't tell our boss that, okay? Add a zero on the end and you're right on, 2,000. We have 2,000 people whose job is at IT. But I would argue there's another 20,000 people that are doing digital work, if not more. Obviously, everybody uses this stuff. I'm not talking about the users. I'm talking about the creators. The person that created the Tide Pod. The person that created the technology behind the Crest sensitivity. Okay? Heavy math and science orientation. Heavy supercomputing. To give you an example, I visited one of our sites. And in our space, and you also will get this from the aerospace industry and also the automotive industry, a heavy use of virtualization tools, product lifecycle management. designing systems, designing products, cars, airplanes, this, designing it virtually. Okay, and then creating it virtually. All that was done via hard consumer panels. We used to bring people in, and we'd put all these different shampoo bottles and say, test this one, and write down your stuff, and you do the same thing. And everybody did that. We had to get all that information, we put it all in a system. It took us 3 years to come out with something. Okay? When we came out with it, we knew it was going to be successful, but we don't have 3 years anymore. So now what we do, we show you some things virtually. You do still test when we're pretty confident, but we do a lot of virtual tests and research in advance. And when we hit the go button, we try to go much quicker than we used to. This is a big, big challenge for us. That's this S-curve that we need. Now, for the folks in the College of Informatics, I got to throw a plug in there about cyber prepared. Who's in the College of Informatics in here? Okay, cybersecurity is really big, as you guys know, and you guys are very, very good at it, by the way. Shout out to the College of Informatics security program is recognized within P&G as very good. Okay, and we're pretty hard to please. Global trends in technology. One is the cloud. You guys take this for granted. You are the cloud disciples. Now, what's interesting, because you may say, so what? What's the big deal about the cloud? You can start a business today with 0 computers, do it all out of Google, and pay them per computing power, however much storage or whatnot, and pretty much run your entire business in Google. We would have never have done that 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Today, there are companies that will, especially in Silicon Valley, their businesses run out of Google. I've been there. I just came back. I was there in November. They're growing. I mean, they are taking on a lot of the computing. Why is this powerful? Companies are moving stuff off the balance sheets into virtual startups and start downs. If I can take all of our computing systems, and P&G's got a large computing environment, you spend a lot of money in technology. Can you imagine taking all that computing and putting it in the cloud? If you use it, then you scale it up very quickly, and then when the project's over, whatever, you scale it back down to nothing. Completely get out of it. Today, I got to buy $1 million systems. Modeling and simulation software alone, if you guys have seen videos, we have this thing called a cave. You put glasses on, you step inside, and you can virtually see how Pampers made a diaper in the line. It's the deep into the technology. No different than if you went to Ford or something like that. That software and hardware, the computing to run this, is unaffordable for companies. You can't do it. You must leverage cloud capability. So this is one major trend going on. The second is the Internet of Things. Now, this is hitting us as we speak. And we all know the phones, how smart they're becoming. Everything is interconnected, and our consumers want that. They do want the diaper talking to their phone, believe it or not. When it's time to change a diaper, I don't know if any of you have children in here, trust me, you don't know how many times I had to check between little Eric's diaper there to see if I needed to change it. You know, that's not a fun thing to do. I only wanted to change it when I needed to. Well, you can imagine a little simple app that can trigger, hey, time to change your son and daughter's diaper. That's a nice value-added capability. These kinds of things. Devices talking to products. Sensors everywhere. I was reading something the other night about, and there's a big debate going on about sensors are going to just, they're starting to take off. They're going to explode. Sensors, whether it's in shirts, whether you drink sensors and they're in your organs and they flow through your body and they tell you how healthy you are, they're going to take off. They're going to be in everything we purchase in the future. And they're all going to be talking to each other. It's a matter of time. Now, imagine that's going to drive up the bandwidth. I mean, everything's Wi-Fi connected. Imagine if we have sensors all over this place. okay? And it's going to happen. I see it happening, and it's going to be no different than when the internet took off. So who's going to bring that stuff into the world? It's you. I don't care what degree you have. If you're smart, if you're an S-curve person, if you're determined, you'll do it, okay? You're going to be expected to do it, no matter where you work. It could be you could work for yourself, okay? This is a huge one. The other one is Brad's square in this space, so please, I would leverage him. Just remember, he's still a P&G until 50. But analytics in everything we do. So this is just an example of a cockpit. Our executives have these. They have them on their phones. They come to work in the morning, they know kind of the state of the business immediately, what's going on. They want every piece of data real time. Companies aren't used to running real time. We have tons of information about what we shipped, what we made, what the consumer call centers are taking in from our, you might use one of these things, and some of you may call the 1-800 line, some may not. But what if you're the baby care brand manager of Pampers, and you call up and you say, look, I got a big idea for your company. I'm working on this, and I think we can put that on. Don't you think the brand manager would want to get a hold of that information as quick as possible? Getting plugged in and mining that data and acting on it for companies is extremely important. In the past, companies couldn't respond. Now things are becoming real time. And there's so much information you can get lost. Okay, you can literally drown in it. It's like, well, what's really important? The software is now powerful enough to mine through what's important and what's not. Back to cloud. The computing cycles are there to answer any question you really have. So if you're wondering, well, I don't have the computers to analyze, yes, you do. It's all here. So this is flipping everything on its head. Now, before coming here this afternoon, I was curious. I said, I wonder what Accenture has to say. I Googled, and I said, what are the trends? Because I see what's coming. And I just want to, so they identified 5 things. And this is public, so I'm not disclosing anything. And we do a lot of business with Accenture, so, this is pretty common in terms of if you talk to where there is a company, where they're focusing on. The internet is one. The internet is about you, the consumer. You, in the middle of everything. Everything that's created, the more it can put you in the center of it, the more successful it will be. Applications weren't written that way before. Trust me, I wrote lots, and I always wrote it for a single purpose. Now everything's written to be interconnected. Second is, it's an outcome-based economy. Think about the cloud. I don't want to buy computing cycles. I don't want to rent a car or so. You want to buy the whole experience. Lou was talking about Uber earlier before we started. If you use taxi, that company started up like this. Airbnb started up like this, if you guys used that before. They got more beds at Airbnb than Hilton and the Westin and Marriott and all these places. Why? How did they do this? All this is, both are perfect examples. They are nothing but a platform of software and hardware that you go into and say, I want a taxi. And I might just say, hey, I got off work, I might put my light on, I'm going to be a taxi driver from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock tonight. My wife's gone, might want to just go drive people in. I know people that do this. I go in, I make myself available, bam, I'm busy for a couple hours, I sign off. Uber is nothing more than a software platform. Airbnb is nothing more than a software platform. I can turn my house into a B&B 5 weeks a year when I'm on vacation and I leave the country or go wherever. I can rent out my house. People, I'm telling you, they got more bed and breakfast, they got more beds than anybody, and it's going like this. Platforms it's outcome-based. It's people like you creating this stuff. Okay, I meet a lot of these folks when I go out to San Francisco a couple times a year. It's the young folks, because you guys are seeing things very differently than us. Third is it's a digital platform revolution. Whether it's with the phone or you go into a car, you want everything connected via a platform. You expect that, okay? Airbnb is a good example. It's a digital platform. Intelligence in every product, I taught that. And a workforce enabled, which I found this one interesting. I actually clicked on the video to see what they meant. And I see it at P&G. Robots are coming in. And I saw this at Google. And there's another place called Singularity University. I would ask you to ping it. Go read. They have a lot of stuff out there. It's in San Francisco, Singularity University. Go look at the videos. They are working on major forces affecting the world. This was one. An example was they showed is you got a person on the floor, on a factory floor, doing some things. And a robot was right next to him, not in a cage. So any of you have been in a plant and you've seen robots, they're typically in a cage because you got to protect the employee in case the robot freaks out and does something it's not supposed to do. They're becoming incredibly smart. So now it's sitting right there with fingers almost. It can do very intricate things. And they learn. I saw one, there's TED Talks that's doing this as well if you want to go. It is phenomenal what's happening here. Okay? Absolutely game changing. And it's coming. We cannot bury our heads. That's, again, the call to action for you, please. If you're in a college and you are majoring in anything, you must stay connected to these things. This will change your life, and you could be in front of it, or you could be seen as kind of watching it happen. And I would encourage you to get in front of it. I was very fortunate. When I came out of NKU in '87, I got into technology, and I stayed in front of it. I happened to work on all newer stuff. And for 25 years, I've been very fortunate. And I'd encourage you, whatever you get into, try to intercept one of these things so you could be the thought leader. Okay? Now, I have a few examples of some things, just quickly, because I want to hear from you, okay? And I want you to be able to hear from us. There's some of the things. I want to mention modeling and simulation, creating a product. These are things that we're working on like right now. Creating all this stuff virtually. Sitting down with the consumer and doing joint designs with the consumer. So we have the razors up there because this is where we're doing a lot of the work with our Gillette business. Our sales force is paperless. They show up. We're in cosmetics, in case you guys don't know that. So we show up and our beauty salons, and it's all paper. You would expect that. You're probably going, Jim, you got to be kidding me. Of course you're paperless. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of paper in companies. Okay? This is probably one of the things that's going to really surprise you when you start getting it full time. That wall is a digital wall. This is a real person. We have digital walls. So it's about this size. You go up, and we analyze consumer based on the virtual products. It's much easier doing this, much faster, and get much more insight. We watch them. We also have, they can put headsets on, virtual reality, and then they can spin the product and look at it and give us feedback right there on the spot. This is Business Sphere. These rooms, we got about 60 or so. These rooms are sphere shaped. We have digital capability up here. People like Brad would be in there. We have an embedded analyst sitting with our presidents, explaining the charts and the insight. Okay? This was a thing of its kind when we developed it. It was very innovative. We have productivity tools for our employees. Big focus on productivity. We're constantly driving our employees to do more because we're giving them more capability. In our plants, you see a forklift driver. Some of our plants have a driver. Some do not. We have automated forklifts. The sensors, I mean, it's unbelievable. And I'm telling you, we are moving product like nobody has ever seen. Not too far from here, we have one of 6 of our, what we call distribution centers. One of 6 in the United States. 6 for a, called $35 billion volume. Products moving out of there. Inventory's constantly in motion. You can't do that unless it's digital. And the people that are doing that are leaning into digital technology. Whether it's wireless, whether it's, unattended forklift drivers or other kind of technologies, if it's out there and there's a business value and we can prove it, we're bringing it in. This just shows you from a quality business operations with all of this stuff said, and I'll close with this. With all this great capability, our systems can't go down. Our plants cannot go down. We can't stop paying our people for half a second. Everything has got to be on. And we can't have security issues. Cyber secure, always on, highly innovative. These are the big kind of trends that are hitting all companies. Okay? So I'm going to end it for now. Questions about anything? Yes, sir.
When you were talking about the virtual wall with the products, I know that's it's really big in Japan. There's stores that are moving to where customers can come in and virtual shop. Does P&G or do you see that's what this is going to end up leading to? Like Kroger's going to be wiped out and be replaced with screens.
Yeah.
Where you can go in and virtually shop, or is it something that's
This is
not really practical to consumers in the US?
It's really a great question. There are countries, Japan, Korea, United States, just to name 3, are highly automated and they leverage e-commerce. In fact, I was in England a few months ago and we visited one of the retailers. I won't mention the name. And they had in their parking lot basically your groceries that you ordered online. Now they can ship them to your house if you want, but what retailers are doing is they're placing bets in every direction. There's always going to be a need, at least in the next longer midterm, to go to the store. My wife, for one, wants to touch everything she buys, and she loves going to the store every day. That does not make sense. I hate going to the store. I'd buy everything online. I'd have it delivered to my house, and I'd do it through Amazon. Because I'd be on a kind of a milk run. Where I needed to go to a Kroger's or whatever, I'd go there physically. Or I would shop online at Kroger's and get things that I needed fresh. Julie likes to go to the store. She wants to touch this stuff. And that's the paradigm. So the watch out is if we kind of like put too big of a bet on this virtual world, you could miss the boat and you could be caught in the transition because we're not there.
Right.
But clearly, more volume continues to go through e-commerce. We see it in our numbers. It's relatively low, but it keeps picking up a little bit every year.
I have a follow-up question. Have you seen like an average from the time that you decide that R&D is going to start working on a new product?
Yeah.
Until the time you start seeing a return on your investment?
You're like that. Yes, too good, very good. So that's been the issue, okay? Companies are impatient, and I'm in the company, I'm impatient too. Because you invest billions of dollars re-platforming and getting ready for this stuff, and it takes a while. And you betcha, we measure it. Every product's different. Liquid products like, call it shampoos and stuff like that, you can move typically a little bit faster. If it's simpler, if you got complex chemistry involved, and take the Tide Pods. We worked on that for a while because unfortunately we had some issues with kids trying to put them in their mouth, and we had to go back and have a better container so they couldn't get in it. But we're going to err on the side to be cautious and do it right for the consumer. Because that first experience when you buy it, the second experience when you use it, it's so important to us. So we're going to err on the side of make sure we test it and get it right and then go fast. But trust me on this. Everything I work on with both R&D and the supply chain is all about speed. I am trying to drive in value as fast as I can. The value in our portfolio, and this isn't necessarily confidential, the projects that I'm working on has a $1 billion of value. $1 billion for the company. If I can deliver that faster, that gives us a chance to cycle through another group of projects. You know, so that's a great question. That's exactly what we have to do.
Just an add-on to that, in addition to developing fast, the other thing that's really important is how fast can you take a product global? So you develop, you get an idea, you develop it in Japan, how fast can you expand it to the other countries in the world? And that's really where you see a lot of progress, because we used to do it custom for every market. And now we're getting smarter about using the same approach across the world. And the consumers are becoming more similar in some ways where we can expand. But you gotta know when can you use the same approach and when do you have to customize to meet the local needs, and how can you do that quickly.
Yeah.
So that's another area of development, I would say.
I hear, especially younger folks, will kind of think, they think Apple products or they think other software products can roll away. And they expect a company like P&G should be able to go out with the next release of something and do it globally, to Brad's point, and do it all in 6 months or a year. You know, when you're making one phone, one type, with one set of electronics, it's possible to go like vertical. When you're dealing with water treatment, that's different in every country, and the chemistry is different. And then the retail to go to the consumer is different, because you got to work through, some are distributors, some are the big retailers like Kroger's and Walmart. It is an order of magnitude 10x more complex. So for us, it is very difficult to do something like that within a year. So you're looking, 3, 4, 5 years to be able to scale that thing out. Good question. Yes, sir.
With emerging markets growing at an exponential rate, how is the sourcing of your products changed? As far as raw materials and such.
That's another one. We have a whole organization. This is, again, I'm in this space. So I support the purchasing people. We have a whole organization in procurement, partnering with R&D. So before we create something, whether it's a package like this, if we were not packaging, just how much money we spend on packaging. I'm not going to say it in a room, but imagine a company our size. You change the type of package, and you could save hundreds of millions of dollars across the world. And so the technology, when we work packaging, we'll sit with the brand manager. The brand manager will try to make sure that this is the right packaging for their brand. But the R&D person and the purchasing manager will ideate around, well, can it look like this? Because if we change this package to look a little bit like something else we already have, a global contract on, we can drop the cost like crazy. So we look for how do we create, how do we leverage the scale we already have with the raw materials, whether it's for packaging or for product. And we look at that stuff globally. We have global systems. We know exactly what we're spending on this stuff anyway. This is why technology is strategic. You can't run, you guys get it more than most because you're younger and you understand. You don't even get up in the morning without checking your iPhone. But I'm telling you, this is the wiring your company towards digitally responsive immediately for anything going on is kind of the future.
And also, with you're touching on with sensors going to be integrated in every single product that we use, what obstacles is the industry seeing? And as far as big data, and they say big brother, monitoring your your baby's vitals.
Yeah, that's a good.
And where's the information going?
Great, very good. So different countries have different labor laws. Europe has, as an example, the European Union, labor laws there are pretty strict, pro-consumer, okay? United States, a little bit further away from that, but still, at the end of the day, who's the most important person in our company? the consumer. Do you think for a second we want to have our data anywhere that would put our consumer at risk or the data from our employees even at risk?
I hope not.
No way, no way. So if we think we do security assessments, we look at all this, if we see a risk, we address it. The whole idea of Big Brother and all this kind of stuff, we're very cautious about that. So, at the end of the day, we're not too exposed because it's the retailers own that consumer base. We have our e-commerce systems. We have systems that, you could go into P&G.com and buy stuff. But most of our volume is through Kroger's and Walmart, right? We're not keeping a lot of, the consumer data we have on the E stuff is pretty innocuous. So we take that as a real big watch out for companies. And that's why cybersecurity is built into, all their stuff. Now, trust me on this, the risk profile keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The bad guys, the market, the underground market is just about as big as the above, and it is massive. I went to a conference on this about a year and a half ago, and it was hard for them to quantify just how big is the underground, because there's more people trying to hack into stuff than there are people making stuff. So the odds are really against us. If we're trying to do things, create value for consumers, you got people trying to extract and extort value. This is really a big issue. Make sure hang on 1 second. Sure.
You were talking about technology being something that makes things easily available, information being able to be accessible to the people when they first walk into a room. You briefly mentioned, what was it? I can't remember what it's called. Productivity tools for the employees.
Yeah.
Is there any particular platform that you guys use? Is it something native that you all use, or like Microsoft Business, or
Yeah.
anything like
So native is not a good word. It used to be a good word for us because that means we created, right? Nowadays, off the shelf. If we can grab Google Docs and all that Google stuff off the shelf, we bring it in. Right now, we use Microsoft Suite. Most companies have standardized on Microsoft. That's kind of like the. But look, Microsoft's got competition now. Google's doing a great job of providing some capability that is equal to, in some cases, pretty powerful. You guys use a lot of that here. I know. I talk to kids, and you guys are into the Google Docs stuff. So it is. We spend a lot on our employees. We want you to innovate. We don't want you to worry about, your job. We want to give you the tools to do your job better. So if I can make you more productive by bringing in more capability, absolutely we will do this. Now everything has a cost. We got so much money to spend in IT or digital, and so every time we make some of these decisions, it's a cost benefit. You kind of look at it and do a business case. So by the way, if you're doing this stuff in college here, I'm sure you are. Please take this stuff serious. We were kind of talking before the class started. I want you to show up here like you show up in your company someday. I need you to really come to P&G like you have 4 years of training at NKU, and you're experienced, you're ready to go. You've been acting like a leader at every one of your classes that you walk into. You're prepared for your class, you're studying, you're engaged, you're dialoguing, and you're in small group exercises learning from each other. If you're not doing that, you're not going to be prepared, and you probably won't get that job you want. Okay, so please, this is serious stuff. This is your future, and I'm talking to you as a colleague. Okay, I was in these chairs, not in this building because it wasn't around, but all those buildings over there, I was in them all. I used to live in the library. And please take this serious. You show up, Brad and Dave and I, we can smell it. If you're dripping with S-curve results, and hey, my professor's willing to stand behind me and give a reference because he believes in me. He has seen me. He sees me show up in class every day. Yes?
Hey, Jim, it's probably worth noting, education is not going to end with the cap and the gown. And the reality is, most of what you're learning is how to learn, how to apply, how to create. And so the habits that you do have now, are going to be some of the templates you follow, after you're at a company as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we're constantly learning. I'm gonna come back to you in a second, sir. Anything over here? Yes, sir.
When you were talking about R&D and developing things, and you said you're using a lot of virtual things for the consumer to see, how do you know, like, when the virtual product isn't enough for, like, a test group to see? How do you know when to make the leap in the investment of a physical prototype?
Good question. That's, at the end of the day, it's our professional judgment. You know, when we hire PhDs in R&D that are doing this stuff. And, you know, they get to a point, they do consumer tests. And so they'll do the consumer test. Okay, don't get me wrong. They'll test different things and test concepts. And if they feel like this thing's got tremendous pull, then they're going to start creating some samples. And then they're going to test those. And then they're going to go. The whole cycle is much faster than it used to be. Because before it was so manual. You didn't have the data. I mean, like you'd have to buy, like we buy data from the retailers out off the store. Okay, we have to go to Kroger's and get the data, or sometimes we go to Nielsen and other companies that sell it. We take that, analyze it. Some of that data is a month old. Some of it's a week old. Some of it's even fresher. But, you know, a month old, I mean, really? The cycle time's got to be much quicker. So at the end of the day, you know, the R&D manager is sitting down and they're collaborating with the brand. And I was in home care for one of my assignments, and it was really a great experience because that was a time of incredible growth in home care. I don't know if I brought home care stuff, but home care makes Swiffer. So at the time we were launching Swiffer. Okay, we had the Magic Eraser. I don't know if you ever use that. It's a fantastic product. The Dawn pump. I don't know if you've used a foam Dawn. Have you seen that on the kitchen? So normally, Dawn's the best dish detergent, by the way. I mean, okay? I do the dishes. I'm an expert on this one. So instead of the liquid, it's a foam. So we came out with that. So there were some blockbuster innovations. Our R&D manager would come in the leadership team of the president, and I was on the team. I was the person, I was the digital guy. And then they had the prototypes out there. These were, you know, we had consumer tests here. We have an unmet need, and that's when the Swiffer. We have an unmet need dusting. The moms, predominantly it was, most of our products are geared towards women doing the work, because if you think we're a global company. But regardless, men or women, they're tired of mopping floors. It's a dirty, long process. So, you know, they come in with the concept of, here's an unmet need, here's different ways we can solve this. And it's some mock-ups. And then you just quickly get consumers, and once the consumers you start locking in, then you show some virtual stuff. Then you bring them back in, and you just start zeroing in. Then you start making it a little bit, you start widening the audience. And then over a period of, and it's not that long. Now, the point I want to make is, we had a bench of about 7 to 9 years of innovation that we were looking at. Okay? So we had stuff, and I did the same thing in my business at P&G. There's things that I'm working on now that are ready now. And there's things that I'm incubating now that are going to be ready 5 years from now. The Internet of Things is not really ready yet. It's coming. We have a guy who is off working on this. He's wired in with San Francisco. So we're trying to learn from the best, but we're incubating. We call it front-end innovation. But at some point, this is going to go like that, and we got to be ready for it. So in a business, you have a plan that's going to take you out 7 to 10 years. And things are going to change, but you got a plan for 7 to 10, and then you adjust all the time. So I had the opportunity to see all the products that we were working on, and it was really exciting. I'm going to come. This guy's been patient. You're 2 for 2.
Okay. So with a lot of companies having to adapt or die with the new innovations in technology and everything skyrocketing, how does P&G balance between moving towards a more automated process and keeping their employees happy or keeping the same amount non-employees or,
Okay.
because with what you said before, the automation process like Honda and the subsidiaries of
Yeah.
DARPA, they're working on some pretty crazy stuff. And so it's a matter of time where, you know, all your equipment's gonna have autonomy and it's gonna be able to do,
So is that good or bad?
that's, I mean, well, as a future employee, it's bad.
But let me ask you this. When I started, we were deploying personal computers. Personal computers were a productivity for our employees. You give somebody a PC and they didn't have one, everything was paper, you need less people to do that job. From when I started to where I am now, P&G's at least doubled. So in the big scheme, it's good, because you're creating jobs. You're working up the S-curve, you're working on new stuff. This is where we gotta be careful. This is, it's not necessarily a P&G thing, as in the United States, my personal belief, we are highly innovative as a country. Our people are highly innovative. I see it in lots of people I deal with. There's a mindset of continuing to innovate. That's why we've been so successful over the many years. The United States is on top. That's why. If we're not careful and we resist through regulations and whatnot, all these changes, because we're afraid, then other companies are going to bring that innovation. We're a global company. Big companies are all global, right? Global companies have shareholders. They're global. They're not from the United States only. They're going to do what's in the best interest of their shareholders. If they can create a product better, faster, cheaper, and with a more innovative culture in another country, do you think they're going to do it? Absolutely. So that's a very delicate balance, and we take it serious. I mean, we are about growing our business for our shareholders. We are about taking care of our people. So our survey scores, we survey our employees every year. We just finished a cycle in March. And our employee satisfaction scores are always in the top couple of companies. That is really important to us. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to have layoffs in some countries because, hey, our business right now in some of our countries is not doing well. Other countries is doing great. So these global companies are constantly hiring here, laying off here, hiring over here, laying off here. My ask of you as a student is please don't get caught up in this. You want to be competitive. You want to be leading front-end innovation. You want to be bringing change in. You want to be the go-to guy, okay? And if we're playing defense all the time and da-da-da, that's not the go-to guy. So your focus is how do you make you more competitive? And how do you create jobs for people? Because you create a company. And that's well within our means here at NKU, to create the kind of leaders we need so that we're not fearful. We should be absolutely aware of these threats, but we're constantly moving forward and innovating and innovating again. Very good question. Yes, sir.
With a company like P&G, how did you guys become paperless? Because I tried to establish this internship that I did, and I got the CIO on board, the CFO, the CEO, but the employees didn't get on board as well as.
Yeah. Drove you crazy, didn't it? Did it drive you nuts?
It was miserable.
It was miserable. Trust me, okay? So you can only do so much in these talks. You guys, by the way, these are the best sets of questions I think I've ever received from an audience. And I've given many talks. You're getting into the art of the human being. We can create all this beautiful stuff, but guess what? You show up in Cincinnati at Procter & Gamble, you're going to see a lot of gray-headed people. There's young people. P&G is a very young company. The average age is like 32, 33 globally. It's very young. Okay? In Cincinnati, we're a little bit older. So you're trying to get people like myself and my generation to change quickly and be paperless and all that, right? That is the hardest thing to do. So we create, in fact, I'm in discussions on these things a lot, as you can imagine. We create all the virtualization capability, but I'm now trying to get an R&D scientist that's been brilliant in his or her career for 25 years to put down the pen and pencil, to pick up a digital capability that will create and model their product. And it's not easy. So that is our biggest challenge. And you're a change agent. So you're going to be changing your company. And you got to be relentless. And my coaching here, because I've talked to a lot of people, is elevate the dialogue. You did the right thing. Get the CIO involved. Get some of the presidents involved. You need champions to work the culture down. You can't just work it up because you'll be there forever and you'll make minimal progress.
Hey, Jim, it's worth adding, I mean, at the end of the day, somebody's got to see it for self-interest to do it.
Yeah,
It
because
can be carrot, it can be stick, it can be, there's a lot of way, but at the end of the, if you're not seeing value in doing it, you're gonna have a hard time getting the changes to stay.
I started small with surveys online, like they had surfaces, try to get them established with that, and it even
Yeah.
became harder and harder of a process. With an internship, you only have so much time.
Yeah.
So, as I was
Elevate up. I mean, this is, you just can't, at the end of the day, you're brought there to help transform. You need to feel like everybody is working for you on this project. If you're afraid to come in my office and say, Jim, you know, this office is only adopted at 5%. I'm spending an enormous amount of time in this office. Hey, what do you think? What do you think I ought to be trying next? That's beautiful. But if you're afraid to engage and have me work for you, because it doesn't take long for me to go correct some of these issues. I can make a couple phone calls and help you immensely. A lot of our employees don't empower themselves. Okay, so they're afraid to kind of, well, you know, and you just keep working harder and grinding, and at the end of the day, the shareholders suffer, you know, and that's not what we want. I'm getting the hook, man. I can feel Ben's breathing. He's ready to grab me. Please take this. I'm going to be the last one to leave. This is not gone.
And people are around if you want, if you've got some time.